Hi everybody, my name's Todd Gerstein. Today I'm going to walk you through SmartTime. I'm going to give a demonstration. I'm going to show you all the modules, show you how they work independently and how they fit together. And hopefully by the time we're done, you'll have a complete and accurate understanding of the product. Thanks so much. Okay, this is the dashboard of SmartTime where the user lands. And we've created so there's a lot of information that's time related that the timekeeper needs to know to make sure they're getting all their time in. So we allow them to slice and dice and see their statistics in a different way. Within the calendar cell, you could see, a user could see their hours for the day, and you'll notice there are different colors, and that corresponds to the state that time goes into SmartTime. Either it goes in once it could be saved if the user needs to come back to it. Once it's released by the user, it then gets posted into the Elite system, and it's locked down in SmartTime. Now, also on this page, we'll show some billable, non-billable stats for the month and as well as for year to date. If the firm has a budget value on time hours, we could show it here so the user can see the variance. We also present hours here in the second tab where they can see month by month their hours against budget, and then they get a nice graphical presentation on the bottom to look at. Over here on the Clients tab, we'll actually show you all of the different hours that have been posted to a client matter in the system so the user can see at a glance from the client perspective how their hours are going. A Search tab, of course, and now this takes us to the Time Entry tab. Okay, let's now take a look at the Time Entry panel. This we configure a little differently for every firm to meet your exact needs and meet the exact needs of the accounting system, so that we're putting in time entries into the accounting system that are always valid and have all the fields that are required. Now, quickly, if you want to see time entries that you've done, you can click in the cell over here and it will load up the entries. And you can see here I have 2 entries. I can go through the deck here. Or if I wanted to add another entry, I could just hit a plus, and then I could do some shortcuts like slash for today. Or of course, I could have easily selected it off a menu as well. And then for the client matter fields, we have a couple of different ways for you to get data. One is we have some shortcuts over here where you have your most recently used list and shortcuts that you might have put in the system. I could select one of those, and then it'll go back to see if I need a phase, a task, an activity code. I'll check up the matter increment. SmartTime will automatically sync with Elite and know the billing increment for each matter, so we're making sure that if it's in tenths or quarters, we're getting it exactly right. And then in this box, they can put their narrative, and we have shortcuts like this where you can put shortcuts in and expand out and have the expanded text. From this point, you can always save an entry if you want to come back to it, and then it'll go into a save state here, or you could just release it right away, which says it's ready to go to Elite. Take it at the next time you post entries. So this is the time entry panel, and as we go through the rest of the demo, you're going to see it appearing over and over again in different settings, so it'll all look very familiar. You would learn it once, you could see it everywhere. Okay, next I want to show you the time capture module. Okay, and if I want to see everything that I did during the day, I simply click on the top of the day cell. So what did I do on the 4th of April? And now our time capture engine is going out and gathering all the bits and pieces of data that we collected for the user during the day to present it to them in journal form. So here we are. The best way to go through this is let's go through it column by column, and I'll explain how all this works. The first is a date and a timestamp column, and it'll, when an event happened. The next is our type, is our data connector column. This is where the data was sourced from and how we brought it into the system. So this is an Outlook email. This icon is actually for a time entry done within the system for that day. This was a PDF worked on the desktop. Oh, what I didn't tell you earlier on this Outlook icon is I could always click on it and it'll launch an OWA window, so I could actually see the full contents of the email that I'm referencing as I write the time entry. Once again, more information makes a better time entry. We'll see Word documents. Now this cursor over here represents browsing. For browsing, we handle it a little differently. We only do it on a whitelist technology, meaning we're only going to track the sites that are on the list. Most law firms typically put Lexis and Westlaw and any other research sites they put in there. That way, we're not tracking the time when someone's shopping on Amazon or surfing the web to do other things. Now, to get the detail of that search session, you can actually click on the icon here, and it'll show you minute by minute the browser detail of your search. Okay, let's go down next to phone calls. Now, we're going to track from your switch inbound, outbound, internal calls. For an outbound or an inbound call like this one, we're going to try to match it up to a name. So rather than just giving the phone number, what we'd like to do is we'll go to Outlook Contacts and see if we can match that phone number up to a name. And if that's the case, we'll then present it as a call to Todd Gerstein. Over here, it looks like that would be a case like that, or that could have also been an internal call to Bob Doe. So we'll get phone calls that way. We also have the capacity to get the call history off mobile phones, off an Apple iPhone or Android phones as well. Okay. Now, you'll notice over here that some of the clients and matters are already filled in for us. And that's happened for a couple of reasons. For example, this icon here means it got checked into the document management system. So when we saw that Word document being worked on the desktop, we matched it up and mashed it with the information in the DM system, and we were able to go to the profile card and find the client and the matter that it's been assigned to, so we can present it to the user, less work for the user to do that. Okay. Another reason that clients and matters are filled in is because of our relationship engine. Say, for example, this email here from Bob. It's coded to Conoco, and the reason that is because in a previous session, I learned the relationship between Conoco and Bob's email address. It's very simple to do. I'll give you an example. Say I want to learn this email here. I simply go over here. I can start typing the client number or the client name. I can find it. I'm going to assign this email to Pacific Freight, and I'm not going to assign it to a matter because I have lots of matters open at Pacific. All I have to do is hit the Learn button there, and then going forward, all phone calls from that 410 phone number will be assigned to Pacific Freight. Now, the opposite of learning in our system is called blocking. And what that's about is everybody gets some emails and phone calls from family and friends, from admin in the firm that have nothing to do with billing time. So in order to thin that out, the user has the ability to block email addresses or phone numbers, and it's just that easy. Say, for example, over here, this call to Bob Doe is a friend of mine. I simply hit the block button over here, and then going forward, that phone call won't be presented. So between learning and blocking, you get a better data set to do time. We also have an intelligent grid. There's filters everywhere. If you just want to look at something, you can, if you just wanted to see your emails, you could filter that and look at it that way. You can do full searches. You have the ability to set how you want the system to look when it launches. And then, of course, you can run a number of different reports right from this grid. Now, what I didn't show you, and this is the last piece here, is we have a captured event, and we want to turn it into an actual time entry. So let's say, for example, we worked on this document here, and it's already been assigned to Bank of America. So I go over here, it's got the date, the client, and the matter, and I can just simply fill in phase and task, complete the time entry, just like we did on the other screen. And it's just that simple to prepare it. Okay, the next thing I want to show you is what we call time gap analysis. I've switched back to the dashboard page, and this time I'm going to go look at my work week, what I did. So you'll see I have my work week, and there's a little stub for each time entry that you already have in the system. If I want to see the entry, I just click on it, and I see it here in the area. And from here, of course, I could click there and create a new entry if I wanted to do that, and then fill it in. The time and the hours are filled in for me. Or you could go prospecting for missing time, where I could just highlight this area. I could say, hey, I have an entry at 7, I have one at 10. I know I was here in that time zone. What was I doing? I could right click, run a gap analysis, and now our time capture engine is going out for a slice of time just from 8 to 10, and lo and behold, it did find 2 different events that I forgot to bill, PDF and here an Outlook email, and to email it, and like again, all I got to do is highlight the row and then turn it into a time entry. That simple. That's what we call time gap analysis. Next, I'm going to show you grid timers. Give me a second to change my screen. We're now on the page called Grid Timers. This is where you can use stopwatch type precision to turn different clients and matters on and off as you work during the day. I had some timers going before the demo that I have here. I set them up, and you can see the clock is ticking, and when I start another one, that one starts, the other one stops. We also have here in the timer detail tab, we're keeping track of all the little segments of the time entry so that the user can see it. And then of course, just like on all our other screens, when you're ready to do a time entry, you highlight the row. Let's come up here where there's a client and matter one, and I can complete the time entry. One of the neat things about the grid timers is that you can launch it and control them in different ways. You can launch it with blank rows, last posted client matters, with the previous session if you just want to keep having them run and run. Or you can load with what's called a preset. A preset is a collection of clients and matters that you use over and over again that you want to bring onto your grid timers in the morning. So for example, I have a preset called Todd I loaded, and there are my clients and matters for the day, and I can start working on them. I also have up here the ability to suspend my whole session if I want to suspend it and come back to it. And then I would do a restore, but I also have the ability to suspend it on the desktop and restore it in mobile. And that's the grid timers. I'm going to close off for 1 second, and I'm going to set mobile up, and I'm going to show you the mobile apps next. Hi everybody, I'm back. I now have mobile on my screen. We're looking at the iPad application. Just as a preface, SmartTime has native apps for the iPhone, the iPad, slightly different apps for each of those because of the screen real estate. And then we have equivalent apps for Android devices. Okay, so I'm on the iPad main screen here. And what I'm going to do is I can see same calendar like I have on the desktop, very similar. So if I wanted to look at time that I did on April 4th, I could click on April 4th, and now comes the April 4th time entry screen. The one entry I already made for is here if I wanted to look at it and edit it, but I'm ready to just do a new one. So I'm going to come over here and hit the plus button. Okay, now this time entry panel here is exactly the same as the one you saw on the browser. So let's just quickly go through it. If I want to click client, you'll see I'll first bring up an MRU list of the most recently used client matters that I had. And if I want to, I can just select one of those and put it in. And then the system is going in and asking me for the other fields that I need. And it's just that simple to put a time entry in. I clicked hours, it brings the hours dashboard up. I can click that. And then when I'm ready to touch into my narrative field, I could do a bunch of things. The shortcuts that we had available on the desktop are available, like /MW for meeting with, or I could take advantage of the iOS microphone and actually dictate my time entry narrative like this. Meeting with Mr. Green, period. That easy, that simple. I've dictated my time entry and it's ready to go. Just like the other system, I can save and release it. This one's good to go. I'll hit release and you'll see the icon change up here to give you a confirmation. And then over here in the left-hand panel, I'll just show you a few things. You can add an entry, I can dupe an entry, I can mass release all the entries in my session. I can get a journal report. If I want a report after I do my mobile session, I would click that. SmartTime will create a PDF and then shoot an email to the user with that report, or I can clear it. It'll also show you the hours that you have in your session. Let me scroll this up. And then over here are little stubs representing the different time entries for the day. And that's how I navigate from one time entry to the other, is when I touch the top one, you'll see that it changes to the expression here. So that is how the iPad works. I'm going to go back to the home screen just to show you one more thing. From over here, you can click and get all saved entries. You could search the system and get a date range of entries. You could click over here and get hour statistics. Similar to the desktop, you can see all the hours set up here. And that is it. Finally, on the iPad, we have a timer. Let me just fire one up for you. And I could start it. And I can have my timer going there. And let me set up another timer. And I'm going to start this one, which is going to stop the other one. Let me start it, then touch it. And I then have my two timers in the stub. I can go back and forth between them. When I'm ready, I end it, I fill in my time entry like I just showed you, save and release it, and it's on its way into the accounting system. And that is the iPad version of SmartTime. I'm going to close down for 1 second and I'll come back with the iPhone. Okay, I have the screen of my iPhone up on the screen, and I'm going to show you this. It looks very similar to the iPad with a little different things on the real estate. I can see my calendar here with my hours in it. If I click over here on top, I can see statistics in a little more abbreviated way. I'm going to go back to the calendar, and let's just say I want to see a time entry for the 4th. There's already some there. So I click on that. Now we have that little stack over here where I can see those 2 time entries that I did. If I want to do a time entry, I just click there, hit the plus button, and I'm ready to go. And just like the iPad, I'm going to touch through. This time I'm going to show you how it works by grabbing a client first, then picking a matter, and then completing the time entry by touching each field, grabbing the appropriate task and matter that's presented for the matter, putting the time in, and then finally producing the narrative, at which I would say, thanks for joining me today, period. We'd love to do business with you, period.